Okay, Algebra 2, Mod 8. Today, guys, you made it to Friday. It's Friday, May 15th, 2020. So top left corner of your quick little section of notes here, go ahead and write 5/15/20 for the date, Friday the 15th. Put radical functions again at the top. Yesterday on Thursday, we did radical functions as well. Notice or remember, those were all square root functions. One other type of radical function is if we have a cube root box instead of a square root box. So today, instead of the square root of x found in every function, it'll be the cube root of x found in every function. And there will be one slight difference when we attack these and learn how to do them. Just a quick reminder, if I put a little note here off to the side, remember how a cube root box works. If I said to you, what's the cube root of 0, right? You'd say 0. If I said, what's the cube root of 1? Hopefully you'd say 1. Because remember, a cube root box means what? What number can I multiply 3 times in a row to get the number that's inside there? So careful, if I said, what's the cube root of 8? You would say what? Oh, isn't 2 times 2 times 2, 8? So that would be 2. And even if I had a negative number in there, which is legal, if I said, what's the cube root of negative 8? Oh, wouldn't you say negative 2? Because think about it. Negative 2 times negative 2 is what? 4. Times another negative 2 gives me the negative 8 that's in there. So a cube root box is simply what number can I multiply 3 times in a row to get the number that's in there. And yes, you can have a negative number. So with all that in mind, just talking about cube roots and what they mean, you've had that before. I wanted to refresh your memory. Let's graph a cube root function. So number 1 is just good old cube root of x. You are going to make a quick table. And guys, here's the good news. Just like yesterday, how do you know what number to plug in first? You plug in whatever number causes this cube root box to end up with a 0 inside of it. You always want to start your starting point by creating a 0 inside the cube root box. So obviously here we would start with 0. So if I take 0 and plug it in, what's the cube root of 0? 0. Agreed? Guys, that is your starting dot. So put a dot right on 0, 0. Now, all you've got to do, and by the way, this will always be a curved shape. It's not a line, so it's not going to be a straight line. It'll be curved. Pick a number to the right of that dot and pick a number to the left of it. If I pick a number to the right of my starting dot, like 1, and I take 1 and I go plug it in for x, what's the cube root of 1? You would say 1. So my second dot is right 1 and up 1. And then pick a number to the left of my starting dot, like negative 1. What's the cube root of negative 1? Remember, you can have a negative under there. What is the cube root of negative 1? Wouldn't it be negative 1? Because think about it. Negative 1 times negative 1 is 1. Times another negative 1 gives me negative 1. So go left 1 and down 1. Now freeze. That looks like a line, doesn't it? But watch this. You would not have to plug this number in. But if I plugged in an 8, what's the cube root of 8? It would be 2, wouldn't it? So I'd go right 8 and up 2, and it would be way over here. My point is, these are not lines. It's always going to be a curve that's slowly flattening out in one direction, and then a curve that's slowly flattening out in the other direction. So it's always going to be a curvature shape that looks like that. It's going to have a curve going one way and then have a little tail on it in the other direction. Okay, that's the general idea. Now, look at the next one. I'm going to make a table. Don't make this difficult. Think with me here. Don't just copy. Those of you that like to fast forward through your notes or not even watch them and then try your homework or copy your homework off someone else, that's not going to work here. Please try to learn. It's only going to take us 10 minutes here. Make an XY table. Now ignore the 1 and ignore the 2. I want to make the cube root box become a 0, don't I? So what number would I plug in? Obviously 0 again. Here we go. Plug 0 in for x. What's the cube root of 0? 0 times 2 is still 0, plus 1 gives me 1. So my starting dot is at 0, 1, which is right there. So once again, guys, pick a number to the right, which would be 1. Let's go plug him in. What's the cube root of 1? 1 times 2 is 2, plus 1 is 3. So I'm actually going to go right 1 and up 3. And then if I pick a number to the left of our starting dot, I would pick -1. Agreed? Now watch how easy. Take -1 and go plug it in for x. What's the cube root of -1? -1 times 2 is -2 plus 1 gives me -1. So my other dots, left 1, down 1. Again, don't connect them with the straight line. Start on that starting dot. That's why it's called a starting dot. Make a curve that flattens out to the right and make a curve that flattens to the left. This curve's a little taller and bigger because the dots are spread out a little bit further. Okay? So far, so good. The third one, oh boy, looks like this. Let's make our table. Let's create a nice picture ready to go. I'm not putting any marks on it yet. Let's see what numbers we deal with. Okay, now guys, look. Ignore the negative sign for a second. I'm going to give you 5 seconds, 10 seconds to think about this. What number should you be plugging in first? This is how you got to think on your homework assignment. Okay, I think I got it. You should be plugging in what number? Wouldn't it be -2? Why did I pick that? Because you want the cube root box to turn into a 0. Right? It's not hard. -2 plus 2 creates the 0 that we wanted. So -2 plus 2 is 0, and the cube root of 0 is 0. So the negative in front of that 0 is irrelevant, so 0 is my answer. So -2, 0, that's my starting dot. Okay, let's pick a number 1 spot to the right of that, which would be -1, and go plug that in for x. Okay, now stay with me. What's -1 plus 2? Wouldn't that be 1? What's the cube root of 1? 1. But what's in front of that 1? Let me move my finger. A negative sign. So -1's our answer. I'm actually going to go left 1 and down 1. Oh. So it looks like our curve's going to go down here in that direction first. Now I need a number to the left of our starting point. So what would you pick? You would pick -3. Agreed? Go plug -3 in for x. What's -3 plus 2? That'd be -1. What's the cube root of -1? -1. But there's a negative in front of that -1 creating 1. So I would go left 3 and up 1. And the other side, the tail would be up there. And it would look just like the other two. Looks like it's kind of been flipped over because of the negative that was out in front. This is not hard. You just got to focus and think. Finally, the last one, and we're done. Let's make an XY table. I'm going to draw me a blank picture. This is all you do on your homework assignment. Isn't the key getting the first number correct? Okay, so look at this problem. What number am I ignoring for a second here? The +2, right? You look at the cube root box. You want the cube root box to become a 0. So what number would you plug in for x? Wouldn't it be 3? Because 3 minus 3 would give you the 0 that you wanted. So I'm actually starting by plugging in a 3. Plug it in. 3 minus 3 is 0. The cube root of 0 is 0. Plus 2 gives you 2. So my starting dot is right 3 and up 2. Notice how I always go put that dot first. That's my starting point. Because now all I got to do is pick one number to the right of it, which would be 4. What's 4 minus 3? 1. What's the cube root of 1? 1 plus 2 gives me 3. So I know right 4 and up 3 is that dot. Again, make it a curve going through there, not a line. And then pick a number one spot to the left of your starting point, which would be 2. Right? This isn't that bad. 2 minus 3 is negative 1. The cube root of negative 1 is negative 1. Plus 2 gives me 1. So right 2 and up 1. I'm going to connect those up with a curve. Wow, I did it. All the pictures kind of look like twins of each other, just spaced out with different sizes and maybe flipped over if there's a negative in front. So that's radical functions. But instead of square roots like Thursday's situation, today on Friday the 15th, we've got cube root radicals, and that's the attack plan for those. Okay? Homework, again, 4 problems. You get 1 point for the proper procedure, so you do have to show work on your chart, on your table, your XY table, and then a point for the finished picture. So this is 2 points apiece. It's another 8-point daily grade based on how well you create and then draw these 4 cube root functions. So hit pause and copy down negative cube root of x, 3 times the cube root of x, and then a minus 2. The cube root of x minus 2 inside, then afterwards a plus and a 1. I'll make that nice and clear. Yep. And then finally, y equals the cube root of 1 minus x. So give that a shot. Technically, today is the 15th. If you're watching this on Friday the 15th, it'd be great if you just went ahead and did your 4 problems and sent them to me now. That way you're done for the weekend. Otherwise, if you do want to wait till maybe Sunday night or fairly early Monday morning, this is due Monday the 18th by 12 o'clock. Your homework or your assignment on graphing radical cube root functions, okay? Great job. We'll see you Monday, and that'll be the last Monday of the year for us. Next week is our last week, okay? See ya.